All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Gunfish TV. I want to thank you for tuning in to my channel today. I appreciate it very much. If you are not subscribed to my channel, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, check out some of my other stuff. Also, make sure you hit that notification bell down below so you don't miss out on any of my content. So my video today, as y'all saw in the title description, I'm going to be going over my rod and reels that I use, my 2021 arsenal, but don't really have anything new per se for 2021. Some of my stuff is a little bit older, some of it's a little bit newer, but I'm very basic when it comes to rod and reels. This is a video that a lot of you have requested, so I wanted to go ahead and get this video coming out to you because I know a lot of you have said that you're getting ready to go out and buy some new gear, spring's rolling around, you're getting ready to buy some new stuff, and I understand that completely. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna start with what I have on my deck, and then I'm going to go in my rod box and show you all what I have in my rod box. Right now it's still a little cold, so what I have up here is more geared towards cold fishing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right here on this side. We're going to work over to this side, and then we're going to get in this rod box. So we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so this is a rod and reel that you're going to see a lot of here in the next few videos. But this is an Abu Garcia Revo X in a 5:4:1 gear ratio. This is a 7-foot medium bionic blade. This, as you can see, has a DT6 on it. This is my crankbait rod. I have this paired up right now with 14-pound test Balzac's Revington Mono, and that is typically what I throw my crankbaits on. Sometimes I drop to 12, but most of the time I go with 12 or 14, but that is my crankbait setup. So 5:4:1 Revo X, 7-foot medium bionic blade. All right, on to, this is my creature bait flipping setup. So this is and this is what I flip my rage bug on, and y'all know I love my rage bug, but this is a Revo X, a 7:1:1 Revo X, and this is on a 7-foot medium heavy Ducket Ghost. All right, so they don't Ducket doesn't make Ghost anymore. They make the Silverado series. It is basically the exact same rod. So if you're interested in one of these, just look for the Silverado series rod. But this is paired up with 20-pound test Balzac's Tarantula, and this is a copolymer. That's what I'm flipping my creature baits on this year. All right, so on to the next one. This is the exact same setup as the last one that I showed y'all. 7:1:1 Revo X, 7-foot medium heavy Ducket Ghost. This is my jig setup. This is also 20-pound Tarantula Balzac's. Exact same setup as what I use for my creature baits, but I just throw the old jig on that, flip that around. That's a Bitsy Bug, Strike King Bitsy Bug jig. Very good jig. All right, so this is a little bit more of my casting setup. This is a 7:1:1 Ducket, and I'm not exactly sure what reel this is. I won this reel, but it's a 7:1:1 Ducket reel. It's a 300 RG, and this is a 7-foot medium heavy bionic blade, and I have that paired up with 20-pound test Balzac's Tarantula as well. And that is one that I throw my trick worms on a lot. A lot of times I'll cast a trick worm, a zoom trick worm, as you can see there. And this rod is a little bit stiffer than my Duckets. And on a long cast situation, I like to have a little bit more backbone, so when I rear back and set the hook, I can drive that hook home a little bit better. All right, so then my casting jig setup. This is a 7.3. This is a 7.3 heavy Ducket Silverado. 7.3 heavy Ducket Silverado. This is also a Ducket. This is that 300 RG reel, 7:1:1 ratio with 20-pound test Balzac's Tarantula copolymer on there. And then this is my casting setup for jigs. So this is a ball head style jig. This is the rod that I throw when I'm dragging either a big worm or if I'm dragging a jig down on the bottom, you know, really launching it out there, long cast. This is the rod that I use, a 7.3 heavy. That way, if a fish bites way out at the end of my cast, I can set the hook and drive that hook home, and I'm a little bit longer rod helps in that situation. But short range flipping, I prefer 7 foot. That's a personal preference. You know, you can use whatever you want, but that's what I prefer. All right, so over here to this side, I got Topwater on the deck. Not that I'm going to throw it right now, but I will be throwing it real soon. But this is a Abu Garcia Revo SX right here, and this is like a Gen 3 model. This is an older model. I've had this reel for quite a while now. But this is a Lew's custom speed stick. This is the custom light, and this is a 6 foot 8 inch medium light. This is the Topwater special rod. This Lew's is really great rod for throwing a popper, or I like to throw a Bangalore light in the spring. Anything really light, this rod does really, really well and casts it really well. You want a rod that kind of loads up when you go to cast it, especially something light. You know, something with some tip on it really, really helps get that bait out there and cast it. All right, so this has 14-pound test Balzac's Revington on it, and that's a mono. I like throwing my Topwater, smaller Topwaters on mono. Personal preference of mine, but that is my Topwater setup for my smaller stuff right there. All right, next up is my Chatterbait setup. Now, I have not caught a fish on this setup yet. I have another rod that I throw a Chatterbait on that I'll show y'all, but this is what I'm throwing right now. I'm ready to catch a fish on it so I can kind of see how I like it. But anyway, this is a Revo X in a 6:6 to 1 gear ratio, and this is just a cheap old Walmart special 6 foot 10 inch medium speed stick. This is actually a Hank Parker speed stick. Now, I caught some fish on this earlier this year on Topwater when I was having to use it as a Topwater rod when my other custom light broke, and I caught some really nice fish on it, and I like the action of the rod, so I'm going to try it with a Chatterbait this year. But like I said, 6 foot 10 inch, this is a medium, and they have it slated as a crankbait rod. And this rod does load up well, has kind of a moderate action to it, so I think it's going to work well. But this is also 14-pound test Balzac's Revington mono, paired up with a Firecrawl jackhammer on there right now. And that's my Chatterbait setup. All right, so this is my, got a little hang up here. All right, so this is my Lipless and my square bill setup right here. And this is a 610. This is a cheaper rod. This is a Lew's speed stick, Xfinity. This came from Walmart as well. This is a medium action rod. Not quite as moderate action as that Hank Parker rod, but this rod works well for a lipless and a square bill. This is also paired up with a 5/4 to 1 Revo X. I like a slower retrieve when we're talking about crankbaits. I like a slower retrieve for all my cranking stuff. So 610 medium, and like I said, 5/4 to 1 reel. This also has 14-pound test Revington Balzac's mono on it. So that is my lipless and square bill set up right there. All right, spinnerbait set up. This is a 610, and this is a Mach 2 Lew's rod, Lew's speed stick, and this is a moderate fast taper, medium heavy action, and this is also 6 foot 10 inches long. This rod has been well used, as y'all can see by the butt. Caught a ton of fish on this thing. This has a this is a Aura, Abu Garcia Aura winch. This has been a great reel. It's old as dirt, but it's been a good reel and it's still working, so I still use it. That is a 5/4 to 1 gear ratio. I actually have 15-pound test Balzac's Iguana copolymer on this reel, but this has more of a moderate action. It loads up really well, and I like the action of that rod. All right, so then we got my jerkbait set up right here. This is a 6.6 medium rod. Now, this is a old rod I bought from Academy Sports, and it's a 6.6 medium, and it's just a tournament choice game day rod. This rod is probably close to 10 years old, if not older, but I love the action of this thing for a jerkbait. It loads up perfect. Like I said, 6.6 medium. That's what, you know, a lot of people throw jerkbaits on different length rods and different actions. They have different preferences, but I prefer a 6.6 medium, a little bit on the lighter side. So this is a Abu Garcia Revo S, and I actually have a SX side plate on it because I lost the side plate to this reel. But old reel, this is a Gen 1 Revo. Old as dirt, but it's still kicking it. These were great reels. That's the one I throw it on. I have 14-pound test Balzac's Revington Mono on this as well. That's what I throw it on. This line is such small diameter that jerkbait gets down really well, even on 14-pound test. All right, so y'all have seen me throw the blade bait a lot, and really this rod is what I throw my chatterbait on a lot, but this is what I've been throwing the blade bait on. I know y'all have seen me throw that a lot here recently, but this is on a 610 medium, and this is a very, very moderate action rod. This rod is very, very moderate. It loads up big time midway of the rod. So this is a Lew's carbon fire. They still make the carbon fires, but I don't even think they make them in this length anymore. But I really like this rod. Been well used. Y'all can see from the handle. Caught a ton of fish on it. I have a Revo X 6.6-1 Revo X on here, and I have 17-pound test Balzac's Revington on here. I've been throwing that on a little bit heavier pound test because where I've been fishing, you get hung a lot, and you catch some great big fish on this thing. So 17-pound test on that. All right, now I'm going to break out the drop shot. Something I don't throw a lot, but I do catch some fish on it. But this is my drop shot rod and reel. This is just a Daiwa 30 series spinning reel, and I have 20-pound test Power Pro braid on it, paired up to an 11-pound test Balzac's Revington leader. So 11-pound test on that. Like I said, 20-pound test Power Pro braid is what's on here right now. And then this is on a 7-foot Abu Garcia Vendetta medium spinning rod. I love this 7-foot medium for a shaky head and a Ned rig, drop shot, whatever. That rod is perfect. Perfect action to me. All right, so next we're going to break out. This is, I'm going to leave my rod sock on it, but this is my frogging rod for heavier cover. So anytime I'm in pads, hydrilla, anything like that, this is the frogging rod that I'm going to use. This is a 7.3 heavy Jason Christie series Falcon rod. 7.3 heavy, but it's a moderate, so it loads up. It has a little bit slower load. I do not like throwing a rod that is like a broomstick. Even when I'm fishing heavy cover, heavy cover, when I'm throwing a frog, I do not prefer to throw a rod that is that heavy. I like that moderate action. I think it lets them get a little bit better. And when you go to load into them, you know, you get a better hook set and they have the frog deeper in their throat. So that is my frog setup for when I'm fishing heavier cover. All right, so my A-rig setup is an Abu Garcia Revo winch, which is 5.4-1, 50-pound braid, and this is a 7'3" medium heavy Ducket Green Ghost. 7'3" medium heavy Ducket Green Ghost. You can see I have my Tackle Warehouse lure sleeve on here. Really keeps your A-rig nice and secure, keeps it from getting hung up in a bunch of stuff. But 50-pound braid, 5.4-1 reel, and 7.3 medium heavy. This Green Ghost is a stiff rod for medium heavy, so I throw it on that rod right there. All right, my other spinning setup, and this is my spinning rod setup for when I throw a Wacky Cinco, when I throw a Swimbait, when I throw a floating worm. This is the rod that I use for that. This is a 6.6 medium Abu Garcia Vendetta. This is a Quantum PT Accurist spinning reel in a 25 series right here. And I have 20-pound test braid to a 14-pound Revington mono leader. That's what I throw on this. Sometimes I go straight braid if I do throw a fluke or something on this, but I almost always throw a 14-pound leader. Sometimes I even go 20 if I'm skipping docks with a Wacky rig, but that's my setup for that. This is kind of my all-purpose spinning setup. 6'6" medium Vendetta. All right, so to my shaky head setup. Let's get this bad boy out here. This is where my stuff gets a little jumbled up here. Getting into the bottom of my rod locker, and my stuff gets a little tight. But this is my shaky head setup. You can see I got shaky head up there right now. This is a 7-foot medium action Abu Garcia Vendetta rod. Like I told y'all, I love this rod for any type of Ned rig, shaky head, anything like that. This is a perfect rod. It loads up good. I really like it. 7-foot medium. This is a Cast King 30 series Sharky 3 reel. Not a big Cast King guy, but I gotta admit that is a smooth spinning reel. 20-pound test braid to a 14-pound test Revington Balzac's leader. That's mono. I don't use fluorocarbon. If you watch my channel, y'all know that. Copolymer and mono it is for this guy. All right, so this is my other Topwater setup. This is a 6'8" Lew's Mach 2 rod. This is the Topwater special rod, Topwater jerkbait rod. Y'all can also see the butt of that rod. That rod is well used. This is a 6'6" Revo X bait caster, and I have 50-pound braid on this. This is the rod that I throw my bigger walking Topwaters on, as well as my buzzbait. This is the rod that I throw it on. It's a little bit stiffer than the custom light rod that I use for my lighter Topwaters, but it still has that moderate action that lets them, you know, get it good. But if I'm throwing a buzzbait like up in the pads or hydrilla, it has enough backbone with that 50-pound braid to be able to get them out. So like I said, this is a 6'8" Mach speed stick, and I've had that rod for quite a while now, and it's been a good one. So that's my rod for my bigger Topwaters and my buzzbaits. All right, so then we get to my Swimbait rod. Now, I don't throw a lot of big swimbaits. Right here, I have a Optimum Baits Boom Boom line through Swimbait on this one. But this is a 7-foot medium heavy Cabela's Fish Eagle rod with the full cork grip on it. This is a old Gen 1 Revo SX, and that's in a 6'4" and I have 20-pound test Revington on here. 20-pound test Balzac's Revington mono. So heavier line for that big swim bait. I want a heavier. I also throw something else I use that rod for as well, is I throw my big flutter spoons on it. I throw my big flutter spoons on that rod setup. It's a medium heavy, but it has a, you know, tip, a moderate action tip. It has a heavy butt section, but it has a lighter tip, so fish bites that swim bait. It loads up good, and then also the flutter spoon. You know, you don't want to throw that thing on a broomstick. You know, some people might want to, but I don't prefer it. So we're getting down to my last rod, and this is not the rod that I'm going to be throwing my frog on this year, but this is the rod I threw it on last year, and I won some money with this rod. But I had another rod that I threw my frog on for years, and that was a Vexan. It was a 7.3 frog rod, and it was a very moderate action blank, and I love throwing it, you know, in open water. I throw a frog a lot, an awful lot in open water. So what I have it on now is this is a 7-foot medium Vendetta. Now, a lot of y'all might be surprised to see me throwing a frog on a medium, but I feel like you can control the frog better and work it better and cast it in them tight spots with a lighter action rod. And also when they come up and bite it, I think they get it better. I'm throwing it, of course, on 50-pound braid, throwing it on a Gen 1 Revo S. That reel is old as, I don't know how old, 10, 12 years old, but that thing is solid. 50-pound braid. Check that frog out. That bad boy right there has been chewed. Legs on it, 8 slam off, but booyah pad crasher. Y'all know how I am about my booyahs. But 7-foot medium. So I am getting a frog rod built. I'm getting a 7.3 frog rod built by Rayburn Custom Rods. He's a kind of a rod sponsor of mine that's building some rods for me, and he's going to build me a custom frog rod. He's going to have it done for me here shortly. I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on it. Was able to get a blank that has a lot of that moderate action that I really, really like, and also something that I like on my frog rods, because I like to do a lot of roll casts, is it had, my old Vexan had a cork grip up here above the reel seat. So I'm getting him to build me one with a cork handle up above the reel seat, cork grip. So when I go to roll cast under limbs and stuff, I like to grab up above my reel. It's just a way I learned to cast a long time ago, and that's something that I prefer. But this rod served me fine. I won the 2-day classic on the second day throwing the frog on this rod, and it did perfectly fine. So that is all of my rods. Now, I have a few spare rods that I keep in here, old rods that I've used in the past. So if a rod breaks, I might need to get one out. But as far as my rod and reel combos, that is all of them. Like I said, nothing, crazy, nothing super expensive. I'm not really big into just having the nicest of stuff. I use what I like. I use what feels good in my hands, and most of all, I use what works for me. So I suggest y'all do the same if you have a particular. I'm partial to Abu Garcia reels, but if you have a particular reel that you like to use, brand or whatever, get whatever you like. If you have a specific rod brand you like, you saw that I have all different brands. And what I do is I go pick them up in the store, and I feel them, and I like the action of them for what I'm going to use it for. And then if I catch a fish on it and I don't like the way it loads up or something, I'll sell it. I will not hang on to it. But, all of these rods is stuff that I've used, tried and true to me, stuff that I really like. And when I find a rod I like, I really fish with that thing all the way until it breaks. And then my heart breaks because I loved it. But, I'm not somebody, I'm not a tackle junkie, I guess you would call it, where I just buy new stuff all the time. That's not me. To me, it's no need to do that if what you have is working and it works fine. So that's my 2021 rod and reel setups. If you're going out to go buy some stuff, you can use what I showed you as a reference. But like I said, get what feels good to you, get whatever brands you like and everything. But this is what works for me. And then also, like I said, my Balzac's fishing line, look down below. Check out my promo code if you want to go check out that line and get you some, because it's really good stuff. Super thin, handles really well, and I really, really like it. So check that out as well. But anyway, I appreciate y'all watching. Hit that subscribe button if you hadn't already, and I'll see you next time on Gunfish TV.